Okay, so we're using this morning one block between the feet and another block between the knees. We've changed it up a bit because we've been using the yoga block between the knees for some time to focus on strengthening and creating integrity for the entire spine and pelvis. However, most people's bodies are still able to turn the feet in, the toes will touch while the knees are open. If that's happening, that means that we've slightly activated the outer hip. We don't have as much internal activation as when we separate the feet and the knees. So we're using both to focus more so on keeping that midline or that internal activation of the core muscles. All right, so we can lie down. And of course, if you want, roll to one side first. That in itself is a little bit. Without dropping the blocks, roll to one side. And then come over to your back. From where we are, we're keeping the block between the knees and the thighs. Squeeze in a little more with the inner blades of the feet. Squeeze in a little more with the knees. And just tune in to any sensations that may begin to reveal themselves with this dynamic mindfulness to contract in with the body. There is a word for this energetic contraction. We call it mudya. Mudya. It's to pull into the midline, to take things into the core of our being, to come into the heart of matters. As we continue to press in with the knees and with the inner blades of the feet, noticing any weight in the hips and pelvis, maybe slightly angling the tailbone back and down so that we begin to feel that the belly button lifts just a little bit away from the mat. As we flatten the sacrum, that triangle-shaped bony structure in the buttocks region, we want that flat bone to be flush to the ground as much as possible. This is usually the safest place for weight bearing. And as we're weight bearing, building bone density as well. Whenever we flatten that tailbone down and back, pull the belly button up, we might feel like we are arching our back. And naturally, this is a natural arch that we are establishing. When the belly button lifts, there's a slight sway in the low back that is respective to a neutral spine in your vertebral column. From here, try turning the palms of the hands up so that the shoulder blades, another flat bone, are flush to the earth. And again, now we're weight bearing in a safer place, building bone density in the shoulders. Just notice the breath now. Inhaling, pushing your belly button up towards the sky. Exhale, pull the navel down and in towards the spine, maintaining the flat alignment in your tailbone and sacrum. Inhaling in through the nose as much as possible. Squeeze the block in with the thighs and feet, just a little more. Heavy exhale. Draw the navel in tight, further activating core energy. The fingers are relaxed, the toes are relaxed, muscles in the face soft. Any dynamic energy is diverted to the midline of the body, from the sternum down to the belly with each breath, pressing in with the thighs, energy in the pelvic floor, in with the feet, energy in the ankles. From here, begin to lift your toes, keeping a hold on that block. Pull the heels back, and begin to slowly extend the legs up towards the sky. It is helpful to note that we are using foam blocks today. So if ever we're attempting to do this at home, I always only use foam blocks between the feet. I never use bamboo or wooden blocks for obvious reasons, right? No one wants yoga to be a contact sport. From here, let's extend the arms up and overhead, reaching with the palms facing up, opening up through the armpits. We might want to imagine we're climbing a rope, or imagine someone's just pulling a little bit on the wrist so that we take some stretch up and out of the ribs and the armpits, feeling that the ribs pull away from our hips. Keep pressing in with the knees and the feet. You might begin to notice that there is a lot more energy building in the body to maintain this alignment. When you're ready, lower the hands around the sides of the thighs or behind the knees. Let's point and flex our feet a few times, keeping that dynamic energy pressing into the yoga block. So now we are truly aligning the feet, avoiding any sickling in the ankles, really working the arches of the feet as well. Just note that if the arches of the feet start to cramp, or if this gets uncomfortable to the point where it's distracting from a quality experience, then take the block away. You don't have to have the one on the feet. Let's point our toes, draw the knees in towards the chest, holding in knees to chest pose, Uttanasana, having the option to rock a little bit left and right. From here, we pulled the tailbone up and away from the floor, a little bit more rounding in the low back. When you're ready, come to center, pointing the toes, keeping the hands on the sides of the thighs. Let's extend the legs up towards the ceiling again. And then maybe point your toes out about 30 degrees away from that point. Option to take the legs down to about 45 degrees. The lower we go down with the legs, chances are the more we'll start to recruit a lot of muscles in the lower core region. The lower we go, the greater the risk of injury. So just starting very small. Let's bring the legs back up towards the ceiling. So the body is at 90 degrees from the head to the hips, and then the hips to the toes. We are at a perfect 90-degree angle. Take a big breath in. Exhale, let the feet push away towards the floor, nice and slow. Stop at any point so that we begin to activate those deep, deep core abdominal muscles. Oftentimes when people say, I need to work my core or work abs, we only think of the abdominal wall, the stomach, but this goes much deeper than that. Let's bring it up to center, 90 degrees, just one more. Keep pressing in with the knees, press in with the inner blades of your feet, especially that top inner blade of the foot where your big toe is. Take in a breath, slowly let the block come down about 20, 30 degrees, not too far. That 45-degree angle is very traditional in Pilates, but again, higher risk of injury there. Let's bring it up to center, bend the knees, let go of the block on the feet and lower the feet. Pressing into that block, let's kick our right leg out, extending 45 degrees, keeping our left foot down on the floor. From here, lower the right foot, extend the left leg, continue to squeeze in with the kneecaps and point the toe on the extended leg. Lowering our left leg, inhale, right leg extension, pointing the toe, puckering up that upper quadricep muscle close to the pelvis and hip. Lower down the right foot. Inhale, left leg extension. This is our last one. And now both feet down. Both feet pressing down into the floor. Let's press our hands down outside the hips, taking this into a steady bridge flow with the hips only. Inhale, lifting the hips straight up away from the floor. Squeezing that block. Exhale, lower the hips down. Keeping this rhythm of lifting the hips every time we inhale. Slowly lower with every exhale, and really monitoring the movement so that there's really only a fraction of a moment when we transition between those cycles of breath to lift and lower. So we're never holding the hips high for a long time, and we're also not resting them on the floor for a long time. Keeping the movement really fluid and dynamic. So there's this continuum of movement and energy flowing with every breath. Inhaling, peeling it up, pacing it so that the hips lift to their highest point when we experience the fullness of the breath. And then lowering the hips nice and slow. As that exhale expires, we tap the hips down and then we lift it right back up. Let's try at least 2 more cycles, 2 full inhales and full exhales to work through syncing up the body with the breath. And it does require a little more mindfulness. So now we have mind, body, breath unification. The next time our hips are down on the mat, we can leave them there. Reaching for our yoga block, let's place it just off to the side. Let's take our feet out to about the width of our hips, or maybe a little wider for windshield wiper twist. Exhaling, knees can go over to one side. Hands might move away from the hips, out like a T. Palms facing down to support the shoulders. Inhale, bring it through center. Exhale, twisting over to the other side. Reminding the body that twists are very powerful all on their own. So we don't really need to put too much more effort into wringing out the spine. There's so much power in the subtleties of a passive twist for our body. Let's do at least 1 more on each side. Giving the kidneys, the adrenal glands, liver, stomach, intestines, giving everything just a sweet little squeeze. When you're ready, roll all the way over onto one side. Let's find our breath. Finding any yoga block we might have close by. We'll slowly begin to press up and come around into an all fours position for cat and cow flow. The floor can be really hard on our knees. We don't have to stay on our knees. We could always sit back, or you could even, one of my favorite tricks is to back up to the back edge of my mat, and then I lift up my yoga mat and I bring it in. And now I'll have 3 layers of yoga mat for my knees. We call it booking the mat. Kind of like what you do with wallpaper. Has anyone hung wallpaper in here? I love wallpaper. I just don't like hanging it or peeling it off. Let's come on to the mat. With that yoga block close by, if you like, bring it in between the knees and thighs again. Toes can be tucked or untucked. There is usually a difference. If you tuck the toes under, it can pucker up the kneecap more. For some people, it doesn't feel as comfortable as untucking the toes, but just know you can do whatever works. Let's check in with our upper body alignment. Let's bend our elbows out to the side just for a moment, as if you're going to do a push-up. And now roll the elbows back towards your thighs. Right there, that's the sweet spot to activate the muscles close to the ribs and upper spine. From here, keeping those elbows back towards the knees, we're straightening out our arms, pressing into the thumb and the inner palms of the hands. Let's drop our belly and push the hips back, opening up through the throat into cow pose. Breathe into the center of the chest. Exhale, squeeze the block, tuck the tailbone under, feeling that deep contraction in the mid-belly. We drop our heads into cat. Inhaling, flipping the hips back, coming into cow. Option to only shift the eyes or lift the head with the gaze. Exhale, rounding through the hips and the upper back. Let's do maybe 3 or 4 more. Not necessarily concerned with the amount of repetitions, but instead syncing it up with the breath. So again, we're never really holding the pose. It stays fluid and dynamic as we continue to monitor our breath. There is a continuum of movement with the breath, and we only come into the pose for a fraction of a moment to transition out of it. Inhaling cow, stretching the front of the lung, breath in the heart. Exhaling cat, deeply pulling the navel up and in towards the spine. At least one more full set of cow to cat, then holding cat pose. Take a big inhale into the back of the lungs, holding cat. And now exhale, find neutral spine. Let's bring our hands in front of the body, maybe just 2 more inches out in front of the body. So for me, my hands are at my heels of my hands are on my yoga mat. My fingertips are lightly grazing the floor. Let's check in with the elbows again. Elbows go to the side. Then pull the elbows back. Let your hips flip back. Shift forward. So you're in a crouching cow position. Crouching cow. We've done this before, actually. Let's press the shoulders away from the ears. Start to straighten the arms from the crouching cow position. And then push your hips back while you round your spine to child's pose. And drop the head. Bend the elbows towards the floor, come forward, flip the hips back, crouching cow, looking forward, big inhale, straighten the arms, shoulders away from the ears, and now round the spine and push back. So we're rolling through that rotator cuff and really massaging the middle back and lungs. Elbows bend towards the floor, shifting forward. Flip the hips back, crouching cow, straightening the arms, looking up, inhale, exhale, tailbone tucks, roll it back, hips to the feet. Let's do just 1 more of those flows. Elbows down, inhale forward, crouching cow, straightening the arms, shoulders away from the ears, tightening up those muscles on the sides of the spine. Exhale, round the spine, hips towards the heels. Finding the breath here, we can stay in child's pose or maybe shift the weight forward. With a neutral spine, let's check in with our wrist and hands. If we're noticing any pain in the wrist or hands right now, we can always come down onto our elbows as we're creating a foundation to experiment with down dog. From here, you're welcome to tuck your toes and lift the knees and then straighten the legs, lifting the hips up towards the sky. So we could be on our elbows, and this is an adaptation of a down dog, and it actually has a different name. It's called dolphin, but I like to call it the forearm down dog. You could always pedal your feet a little bit so that you bend one knee just a tiny bit and then flatten the other foot. The block is going to ensure that we don't straighten the leg too much or bend that knee too much, working with a micro movement in straightening that and strengthening those knee joints. Just a couple more. When you're ready, lower both knees. Let's take a deep breath, walk the hands back, take the block away from the knees and thighs. Let's place it just off to the side. And we can always sit back and then unhook our mat from all fours. Let's step one foot forward from a kneeling lunge, bringing our other foot forward, pushing the hips back, hands on the thighs to really brace the spine and the body. Let's inhale and circle the arms up and overhead, extended mountain. Utthita Tadasana. Option to shift just the eyes to look where the wall meets the ceiling, or lift the chin and the head with it as well. More important to know how to shift the eyes than it is to move the head. Changing the way you look at things is so important. Shift forward and lift the heels. Tiny lift, pressing the hips forward. Imagine the yoga block between the knees. Our bodies have been practicing using this external resource for months and months. So we're just checking in to see if there is that muscle memory there. Even without the block, can the body remember how to squeeze in? Yes, it can. It can. Inhale, reach. Drop the heels. Exhale, halfway down. Hands come onto the thighs. Let's push our hips back and maybe create a feeling in the spine that's similar to a standing cow, so that we feel that the tailbone flips back and we're able to pull those elbows in tight, just kind of like our crouching cow position, and then press into the thighs to lift your chest and lift the chin. Big inhale. Exhale, relax the whole body. Option to walk the hands past the knees. Maybe let the hands rest on the shins. Fingertips could even dangle really close to the floor, possibly touching the floor if that's a comfortable reach. Let's try 3 big exhales here in our forward fold. Uttanasana. Big inhale. Bigger exhale. Big inhale. Hang loose like a rag doll. Shake the head, yes. Turn the head left and right. One more. Big breath in. And bigger exhale. Let's walk the hands from the shins up to the thighs, finding a flat back, elbows in tight. Reverse swan dive, arms come overhead. Stepping our left foot back in a casual stride. It doesn't even matter what the left foot wants to do now. That's how casual it is today. So it doesn't matter if it goes to the side or stays straight. Main thing is this is a short stride. Let's bend our front knee, reach up overhead, circle with your right arm. Take it forward, back, and around. Let's do that 2 more times. Notice that as we're doing this, we get a little bit of trunk rotation. We can turn or swivel from the navel. Let's extend the right arm up and then pat ourselves on the back. Keep bending the right knee, pushing down into the left foot. Feel your left hip so that it is squared off with the top points of your back. So notice if your hip is pulling away or if your hip is pushing forward. We want both of our hips. If there was like a line right here, imaginary line that could go over the top edge of the mat, we want our hips to stay parallel. Let's take our left arm forward and circle it 3 times. Inhale back, a little bit of rotation through the waistline, a little swivel, lots of spiraling energies. One more big circle. Take it all the way back and around and down to the low back. Let's turn our thumb down, bend the elbow so the knuckles are just grazing along the low back. A lot of times people want to try to touch their fingertips together at this point. I'm going to discourage that today because we're not making it about this. Instead, we want to be really open now, really open. So think of it more as like waking up and you have that first morning yawn where it's like, ah, and everything's really open. That's called sponda, expansion energy. We'll keep lunging forward, pull the shoulders back. Shoulders are stacked over the shoulders. Pull the elbow up, pull the other elbow back. Don't forget to smile. Cheese. Lower the chin. Establish a soft yet dynamic breath, filling the lower belly, through the ribs, up to the heart. Exhale, relax your heart, pull in your ribs, pull in your stomach. Inhaling into the belly, naturally the breath is going to rise through the ribs. Focus on lifting the chest last. Exhale, relax the chest first. The breath is going to roll out from the ribs and then pull the stomach in. Inhaling belly, ribs, heart. Exhale, heart, ribs, belly. Let's take our right hand to the low back. Straightening out our right leg in preparation for pyramid. Let's just check in with both knees real quick. Noticing that when we bend both knees, we're able to maintain just that tiny little micro bend, a kink in the knee joint, so that we can have blood flowing, lymphatic fluid flowing, none of the nerves are pinched. Let's flip our hips back and begin to look beyond the top edge of our yoga mat. Take in a big breath here. Exhale, lower down just a little more. You might start to notice a little tug around the back and the hips. That's exactly what we're stretching here. It is possible for even the feet to begin to cramp a little bit because we're stretching muscles that go all the way down to the arches of the feet. One more big inhale. Release the hands down onto the thigh or the shin. We could always stay with the head in alignment with the hips. That's usually the safest place for blood pressure. But if you want to experiment, drop that head down. Maybe just let your chest drape over the right leg and hang loose like a rag doll again. So it's almost like the pose we already did, standing forward fold, except we have a split stance with it. Let's try at least 3 big exhales. 2 more. Let's come up just a little bit. Look to the side of your mat where you have your yoga block and grab one. Having the yoga block in the most upright position, let's put it in front of our right foot. And if you want, begin to bend both knees, shifting forward so that we can push straight down into that block. Keeping our right knee bent heavily, let's bend our left knee and peel up the left heel. So you're in almost a little bit of like a curtsy squat. Yes, ma'am, I'll take a minute. Do you look at that curtsy squat, y'all? All right. So from where we are already doing mostly weight bearing into the right leg. We could stay right here and you're probably gonna start to feel it in your right hip, okay? If your hip starts screaming out at you, push your left foot down so we can redistribute that force. Option to come up onto your tippy toes on that left toe. Keep pressing into the inner and outer blades of the right foot. Option to lift that left toe off the floor, keeping a bend in the left knee. Yes, we can straighten the leg. As soon as we straighten the leg, it is going to tug on the low back. Chances are we will lose our balance. It's not to say you'll fall over, but the balance will be challenged. One more big inhale and a bigger exhale. Lower both feet. Walk the hands up to the thigh and let's just stand. Anybody feel it in their hip? Yes, that's what it's for. All right, let's
Yes, all back here, SI joint, hip. It's like a real like saturated strength and stabilizer for just that right hip. Okay, let's see what our left hip is gonna do today. I always like these poses where you do left and right. All right, so we're starting with our feet open to the width of the pelvis, inhaling arms overhead. This time we're sliding our right foot back, the most casual stride possible. We want to just allow any tension to kind of come out of the body. We're working, but not with too much effort. Let's take our left arm forward, like we're shaking someone's hand, sweep it past the hip, and work those circles in, just a little bit of that trunk rotation. Remember to keep bending your left knee so the center of gravity is a little more forward, and then it's easier to sweep back. Let's do one more. Patting ourselves on the back with that left hand, and now taking our right hand forward. We're going to take it up, back, and around. And we're adding in that rotation with the trunk of the body and with the ribs. One more time, all the way around. Reaching back, the thumb is down. Bend at the elbow, so we hinge through that arm and just swing it in, knuckles touching the low back. Keep bending the front knee, so our center of gravity shifts forward, and then we can pull out of the navel, only pulling the shoulders back to stack them over the hips. Relax the chin, relax the expression on your face. Find the breath. We're holding it here about 3 to 5 breaths. We could always close our eyes so that our body gets to experiment with finding balance, making our way through the pose based on how we feel, less on what we see. When we're ready, maybe opening the eyes, resting the gaze. Let's take our left hand into the low back as we prepare for chest expansion with our pyramid pose. Inhale into the heart, lift the ribs, continue to look down towards the floor. Let's bend both knees just a tiny bit. Flip the hips back and come down maybe a third of the way, not quite halfway. At this point, legs are straight, but not locked out. That's the key. Inhale, pull your collarbones and shoulders forward towards the top of the mat. Holding it right there. Exhale, maybe we lower a little more. Option to bring the hands onto the thigh, supporting the spine in pyramid, Parsvattanasana. Exhale, maybe let that chest release over your left leg and dangle the arms more towards the floor. The yoga block is there still, so we could put the hands on the yoga block, and this really can provide such a great sense of stability to the body. And once we feel stable, once the body senses security, it's usually able to release a little more tension. Big inhale, bigger exhale. Let's try 2 more. Big inhale. Remember, exhale is more important. Just 1 more. From here, let's come up about halfway. We have our block in front of our left foot. We're bending both knees so we can shift forward and peel up that right heel. Keeping the back as flat as possible with the hips flipped back in our little curtsy squat. Maybe we come onto the tippy toe of that right foot. Lots of weight bearing here. We're using calisthenics, our own body weight, to promote health and vitality. Say good morning to your left hip. Good morning, left hip. Option to lift the right toe away from the floor. Now, as soon as we lift the leg, chances are it is going to be a balance challenge. There are fewer supporting parts of the body on the floor.
So as soon as we lift one leg, it might be a little shaky. It might get a little wobbly. That's okay, as long as there's no pain. Let the body find its way. Let's take our sweet time. Lower that right foot down. Walk the hands in on top of that left thigh. Easy does it. With the tailbone flipped back, come up out from the hips and stand for a moment. Kick it off. We made it. All right. Everyone felt it? Left hip, right hip. Did it feel different for some people? Left to right? No. More on the right? Yeah, it's really common that it doesn't feel the same. And one side maybe needs more strength, one maybe needs more stretch, but we're doing the same work no matter what. Let's bend our knees and walk our way towards the floor. Take one foot back at a time so that we can find that all fours position again. Let's touch our toes towards each other and then open the knees. That way we can press our hips back and come into a wide kneed child's pose. So wide knee child's pose, you want your ribs and stomach to be able to kind of just nestle between the thighs. Relax the head down. Since this is our 6th class, we're working with chakras 6 and 7. It's encouraged that you move the third eye or the brow towards the floor. Alternatively, you could make fist with both of your hands. You could stack one fist on top of the other and then rest your head on the stacked fist. No matter where we are in this pose, no matter what we choose in this pose, this pose is the embodiment of Ishvara Pranidhana. That's a mouthful, right? Ishvara Pranidhana. The translation of that in the tenets of yoga, it is surrender, the practice of surrender. Big exhale. Surrender is sometimes one of the most often misinterpreted practices. It's not giving anything up. It's giving in. It's giving in to what is and not fighting, not resisting, not creating suffering. They say what we resist will persist. So just give into it. Big inhale and bigger exhale. When you're ready, slowly come up. Let's shift forward, supporting our hips. We can bring the knees in, swing the feet over to one side, and come down onto one hip for a moment. Let's extend our left leg. We can bend the right knee out to the side. Option to take the yoga block. I like to use the corner of the block right in that little nook by my knee joint. You could bring the block all the way in close to the hip. The closer it gets to the hip, the more it will support your back. So for any back pain, real close, really, really close. You don't even have to use the block. It doesn't feel comfortable. Just don't use it at all. From here, let's extend both arms up. Swivel at your navel. Wait, come to center. Let's try that again. Both arms up. Exhale all the way in place. Now act surprise. 1, 2, 3. Now turn and reach. Woo. There you go. Taking a big breath. Bigger exhale. Imagine your right hip is being pulled back while you reach forward with the right arm. So we're getting this beautiful stretch and length along the right side of the spine. Big inhale, big exhale, make your liver smile. That's right, your liver. Make your liver smile. To safely come out of this, we're walking the hands in close to the body, Keep the head hanging down and slowly come up. Okay, let's do the other side. Right leg extension, left knee in. Notice that I angle my leg just a little bit out to the side. There's different ways to do this pose. It could be centered, but we're going a little out to the side today so that, number one, it gives you more room to open this hip, whereas if you were here, it's pushing your leg over. Also, with the leg to the side, we're able to squeeze, little spring cleaning, right? Inhale, arms up. Exhale all the way in place. Navel in and up, surprise. Turn, reach. Push the left hip back. Imagine someone's behind you, pushing down and back. Anchor that left hip. Imagine that there's a little bit of weight, pulling your left hip down into the earth. And then reach forward with the left hand, getting that lovely length all along the left side of the spine. Inhale. The inhale might be a little shallow because the stomach is compressed. However, the breath is going to find the path of least resistance. So as we inhale, we could try to use the stomach to breathe. The breath is going to move into the low back. It can feel really neat. Big inhale, bigger exhale. One more big inhale and bigger exhale. Keeping the head relaxed, staying in the head to knee position, walking the hands in, supporting our bodies. We slowly begin to rise up and then bring it to center. From here, we can lift our one leg, extend the other, scoot to the top edge of the mat. There are a lot of different ways to lie down on your back. Just a reminder, this is one that we used to do a lot. Left hand on the side and around your left thigh. Point the right toe, that's to protect your low back. Right hand behind the head. The position of the hand is like this. The index finger is at the base of the skull, so the thumb can be on the side of the neck. From here, contract your belly. 1, 2, 3. And then slowly roll down. It's not always graceful. It's like watching people get off and on a boat sometimes. From here, let's draw the right knee in. Open the knees out wide. Extend both legs straight up to the ceiling and flatten your feet. Supine straddle position. From here, place both hands on the outsides of your thighs, keeping the feet flat. Let's pull the knees down towards the shoulders and armpits to find happy baby pose. We could, just for fun, reach up and hold on to our toes. You could even crisscross your arms and reach for your toes. There's so many variations on this. It's meant to be very playful. Adding in that gentle rocking position, just adding to the playful character in this posture. Come to a still point. Take any tension out of your body and lower the feet. Maybe let those knees sway a little bit again, left and right. From here, moving into any final relaxation position. And this is also an opportunity to have a little miniature yoga intermission. So maybe you use a minute just to stretch a little more. Maybe your body wants to do a twist to one side. Maybe your body really wants to do bridge pose again or happy baby again.
Now, eventually we'll find some still point, but just know that you don't have to make your body be still. We can always fidget and shift. That's how some energies need to be discharged. Let's move inward, visualizing the breath. Imagine that the breath is moving into the body as two rays of blue light, one coming into each nostril. This blue light is a unique shade of blue, blue like a blue moon, silvery blue, healing energy, Chandra, moon energy. As we draw in these two rays of blue light into the nose, this energy moves straight back behind the bridge of the nose, between your eyebrows, and then up to the middle of the brain. As we exhale, the breath leaves as a single ray of white light from the midbrain out from the third eye, center of the forehead. Breathing in, two rays of blue light straight back between the eyebrows and bridge of the nose to the midbrain. Exhaling from the midbrain out the center brow. Allowing the breath and our perception of the breath through color and light to wash through, cleanse the mind space, creating for us clarity. With that clarity, deeper intuition, improved gut instinct. We could even affirm, I know what is right for me. I know what is right for me. This knowing, we call it intuition in yoga. In some religions, we consider it a gift, the gift of discernment, this knowing of what is right, what is wrong. I know what is right for me. Now, instead of two rays of blue light, breathe in white, breathe out white, affirming I have all the love, all the peace, and all the power in me and all around me. I am that. Chakras 6 and 7 celebrate unification. I have all the love, all the peace, all the power in me and all around me. When you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes. As this concludes our physical practice, take your time in eventually making your way to seated. Let the body move in any natural, organic way. When you're ready, roll to one side and maybe come to seated with the eyes closed for a moment. Bringing our hands to the heart, Anjali Mudra. Taking the hands up to the center brow, pressing the edge of the hands and the thumbs into the center of the forehead. Bringing the hands back down to the center chest. May all that we think, all that we see, all that we do, be driven by love. Taking a nice big breath together and exhaling together with a bow. Namaste. Another 6 weeks.
No,
Ladies.
was it 6 weeks? I missed 2 though. So I don't really only
It
4.
was shorter. It was 6 weeks.
Oh my God.
Where does the time, where did the last 15 years go?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
I don't think it was 2 weeks.
Okay.
Are you going on vacation?
Yeah, I'm going back home.